Greetings, everyone. Today, I want to welcome Dr. Jeff Bagazik to the Mom Chief of Everything podcast. Dr. Bagazik is a head of school at Christian Life School in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Christian Life School is an independent, evangelical, interdenominational, coeducational, and college preparatory school. It currently has 759 students from pre-kindergarten to 12th grade, and 54 teachers are on staff. Dr. Bagazik, can you get us started today by sharing a bit about yourself and why you are so passionate about what you do in the field of education?
Sure. First of all, let me say, Jeanette, thank you so much for having me on the program. It's a great pleasure to be able to sit down and talk with you. A little background on myself. I spent 25 years serving as an associate pastor at a church. And of those most of that was working with teenagers and students in student ministry. I went on to get a master's degree in leadership and liberal studies, and then continue my education with a PhD in rhetoric. The concentrations for that were interpersonal organizational communication. And what I found through my educational experience was how great it matched some of the desires that I had when it comes to educating and developing students. That's always been a passion for me, is investing in the next generation. And this position that I'm in now really, I think, just is a great blend for me of helping students to discover their purpose, to discover their gifts, to grow and to learn about the world. And then, the educational component, advancing academically, pursuing a career, pursuing a field of study. So it's a great position for me. We love what we're doing here at Christian Life School, and I just appreciate the opportunity that I have and what I consider, just a really cutting edge position, working with the next generation right when they are trying to discover what God is speaking to them, what their direction might be, what their interests might be, and then how they can go out and make a difference in the world. So I just appreciate the opportunity that I have to be here in this position and really to invest in the next generation. So I'm grateful for it.
I love that. I love that. Well, one of the things that I hear parents say, especially at this time of year, people are already thinking about where their kids might go in the fall. Maybe they're having a great experience where they're at. Maybe they're open to different opportunities for their children. And with your experience in education, what do parents enrolling at Christian Life School and in private education, what do they say are the top 3 reasons that they are choosing private education?
Yeah, it varies depending upon the family, and I think every family has their own desires and goals when it comes to their students' education. But I would say generally, when people are looking for a private education, one of the first concerns is safety. Obviously, we live in a world today where, we hear of tragic events happening in schools. That's hitting home for everybody that's a parent, because their kids are in school as well, and they're concerned about, is that going to happen at my child's school? So safety, school safety, and when I speak about that, I'm not just speaking about physical safety. Parents are concerned about their children's emotional safety as well. Are their kids being bullied in school? Are they being harassed? That's a big concern for them. And then for a lot of people of faith, there's a concern for their students' spiritual safety as well. Do their kids have freedom to encounter God, to seek God and seek religion and find what their purpose might be when it comes to that spiritual realm of their life? And so parents that are looking for private education are usually looking for safety for their students when it comes to those areas. I think the second area that people look for when it comes to a private school is a culture. What is the environment like at that school? Again, that goes back to a safety issue, but one of the things that I have come to learn, and I'm going to say this from my studies actually academically, is the environment, the culture of a school is a curriculum. Students learn almost, I would say, more from the environment and the culture of the school than they do from the content in the classes. And I don't want to get too academic, but that goes back to a media scholar called named Marshall McLuhan, who basically was famous for coming up with the concept, the medium is the message. We often think that it's the content of something by which we learn or grow or develop. And McLuhan's thought was it's not as much the content as it is the medium by which that content comes to us. So when you apply that principle to a school, the environment, the culture is a medium. And through that culture, students learn. They learn how to interact with one another. They learn how to learn, how to grow, how to be socially, how to learn. So that's big for us. We're very intentional about our culture. And I think most private schools are that way as well. And I think that's something that parents look for. And I would say the third one is parents seek out private school because they perceive that private schools will provide a better educational experience for their kids. And when I use that word better, I think that's a vague concept because we all say we want something better, but what does that mean? Does that mean more academically rigorous? Does that mean more opportunities when it comes to sports or fine arts? Does that mean higher level classes? Is that, one of the things that I find often when parents come to me and say, I'll say, well, what are you looking for in an education? They'll say, well, I want a good education for my kid. Well, what does that mean for you when you say, I want a good education? We all have a vague understanding. We want a good education, but let's really parse that out. Does that mean you want your kids in competitive sports programs because you think that they're going to advance in their athletic career? Does that mean you want incredible fine arts opportunities because your child is gifted there in music or in theater? Does that mean you want academically rigorous classes? Does that mean you want something well-rounded? Does that mean you want something safe? So that's one thing when parents ask me about a good education, my question is always, well, what does that mean for you? Because I think that's different depending on the individual. So private school education, when it comes to that educational experience, parents are usually looking for smaller class sizes because they feel that smaller class sizes provides a better, more intimate, more personalized education for their kid. That would mean lower student to teacher ratios. They have a perception that private schools will be more academically rigorous because typically private schools test scores are higher than the public schools, and there's multiple reasons for that, not the least of which might be that the program is more rigorous academically. So they also might say there's better chances of their student getting into an elite college or university because they are going to a private school. And again, I'm going to say that the idea there is the perception, because the perception or the belief that someone might have about private education is not always the reality, because I think that's dependent upon the individual school. So that's what I would say there to answer that question.
Sure. And what do you find that once they get into a private education, that perception, what do they find as the biggest benefit? Because the safety, the culture, the better educational experience, and one could actually argue that the better educational experience actually goes back to the first two as being integral to that experience. What do you find that parents say as their kids are going through the private education experience? And maybe they've had that comparison of coming from another private education area or a public school. What do you find that once they're in, what benefits do they find? What are parents saying?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be able to speak to that globally or on a higher level. I could speak to that locally here, what parents find when they come to Christian Life School. And again, I think it goes back to a family's goals, if you will, when it comes to their students' education. If they're coming to Christian Life School because they perceive our sports programs are nationally ranked in whatever they may be, and that their kid's going to participate and go through their sports and become an NBA athlete or something like that, they might find when they get here that's not the case. In some sports we are competitive, in others we're not. And again, that I think goes back to the individual school's philosophy of why and what they do when it comes to their programs. So for us, I think, you know, when parents come to our school, they're looking for a school, and I think the biggest thing is the culture issue. So they want a school that fits with their faith tradition, that is going to partner with them when it comes to educating their students and bringing them up based upon their tradition when it comes to their faith. And that's a big component for us. You know, I feel that, and I think it was Leo Tolstoy who said, you know, religious training is the foundation of education. And we believe that that's integral, you know, that when we grow and when we educate our students, it's not just about the science and the math and the English and all of the things that go with an educational program, but it's how is that connected to our faith? The
Mhm.
faith component for us is very meaningful. And so for us, I think the biggest benefit of our school is it provides a great education. We have a lot of extracurricular opportunities for students, but most importantly, that it's grounded in our Christian faith, and that we desire to help our students to find what God's purpose is for their life, whether it's in math or history or language arts, and then how can they pursue that purpose when they leave our school. So that, I think, is the biggest benefit from our school's perspective.
Right. And I will say for the audience, for those of you who don't know me as well, my kids actually do attend Christian Life School. So I might have a little bit of bias. How-
Right.
However, I will say what he is talking about in regards to the culture and other parents that have the pleasure of getting feedback from and chatting with, is that it is so much of the culture where it's a family. So even though my kids are in the elementary, they know the upper school teachers and the teachers know them. Like everybody really does know everybody, and there's such a sense of community. And I think some of that has to do, it's a smaller school and it is pre-kindergarten through 12. So you really get a sense of that connectivity between the students of all grades. What do you find, just kind of switching the conversation a little bit, what do you find are some concerns that parents have when they're looking at private education? What are the common concerns that parents have that you have
Right.
to address?
I think the biggest concerns that parents have when, and again, I'm speaking about our school, but
Sure.
I would say that this is probably a little bit more global, is cost. Private school education is not free. Um,
Right.
you know, so parents are asking the question, do I want to write the check for something for my student that I could be getting for free down the street at the public school? So cost is a big one. And I think the other one is then opportunity. Um, do Are my students going to have the same opportunities to experience whatever the programs might be at a private school that they would experience at a public school? And so I'll talk about that athletically. Do my kids have the opportunity to compete in athletics at a private school that they would have at a public school? Fine arts. Do my kids have the opportunity to learn and grow and develop their musical ability or their dramatic ability at a private school as much as they would at a public school? Can my kids participate in mock trial, student government, you know, National Honor Society, all of those extracurricular programs in the same way at a private school that they would be able to at a public school? And so those things are typically the obstacles that we deal with when parents are coming and asking questions about what do you have at your school that is available for my student, and that's going to give them opportunities to expand and then to be able to move forward in their academic career in college or university.
Right. And I think that's very true. Like many parents kind of have this understanding that when they go to a private educational system, that the academics are going to be there.
Right.
And it's the extracurricular activities that they want their child to be well-rounded, to be
Right.
able to have the social interactions. And, you know, having coached at Christian Life School, I can say that what is really great about a small school is that you don't, like, everybody really does have the opportunity to play,
Right.
because you don't have thousands of students that have to try out or audition if it's a fine arts. You have a smaller pool of students, and it's more likely that students can be part of different things because you're not competing against such a vast mass of student body. So that is, I feel, a plus of having a smaller school. Now, both private and public education, if we switch a little bit to those academic standards, they have to meet specific standards. And I've heard that Christian Life School is seeking different accreditation. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important when parents are looking at private education, why to look at a school with that's meeting certain standards, and what is the specific accreditation that Christian Life School is looking, and why is that so important?
Sure. Accreditation, I think, to me, just means the credibility of your academic program, and who certifies that. So what is the body that governs the credibility of what you're doing at a school academically? And that's important, because when a parent is coming in to look at a school and asking questions about the academic program there, who says it's great other than the school? I mean, because, right, a lot of schools are going to say, yeah, our program's great. But is there a higher authority that is standing behind that statement? Is there a higher level accrediting body that is saying, yes, this academic program is great, it's viable, and it's available, for the students to be able to pursue. So the accreditation that we're seeking now, we are accredited with Advanced Ed, which is the high level accrediting body within the Midwest. That's the accrediting body that accredits all the public schools. But we are also seeking accreditation now with ACSI, which is, I would say, the leading accrediting body for Christian schools. And so we've been pursuing that for the last year. That involves us doing more for our school than just simply creating a great academic program or putting together a great curriculum. It has to do with standards of governance. Do you have intentional governance set up? It has to do with financial accountability. Are you doing a great job with your finances? It has to do with your media and your library and your extracurricular programs. It has to do with parent involvement. It has to do with school culture. It has to do with the faith component and what they call biblical integration. In other words, is the Christian worldview more than just going to chapel once a week? So our accrediting body demands that Christian faith component is integrated into every class and integrated into every subject. And if we believe that God is the creator of everything, that God created and designed math and is the brains behind science and is the architect of history, then we want to be able to show students where God comes in all of those areas. And so, and then of course there's the academic program. Do you have a great academic track? Do you have a curriculum map? Do you have national standards? So we have standards and objectives that are nationalized, that are not just, something that you'd find in a Christian school, but our national standards that we've adopted for our school. And you can find those on our website. Our website is kclsed.org. /standards. We have a white paper that we wrote on the standards that we've adopted for our school. And so we have to align our curriculum to those standards. And so that's what accreditation does for us. It just provides a high level of credibility that what we say we're doing here at Christian Life School, there is a high level of authority behind that is saying, yep, that's what they're doing. It's a great school. It's a great academic program. They're meeting our standards, and it gives us, a certification. So,
Great, great. For those parents out there who are seeking and currently actively looking at private education as a possibility for their students next year, what would a day in the life be like in a student, whether that's elementary or upper school? Can you walk a parent through, like, what would a day in the life look like?
yeah, I'm going to say a day in the life of a Christian Life student is not much different than a day in the life of a regular student. I would say the culture is incredibly different. We're very intentional about our culture here. It is a culture that at the foundation of it is our faith. And so we're asking our students to consider others. We're asking our students to be kind to one another, to practice those principles of our faith. That doesn't always happen. We've got human beings here, but kids come and they go to classes. They participate in the different programs that we have. I'll give you an example. Last week on Friday, we had one of the Supreme Court justices from the Wisconsin State Supreme Court that came in and did an assembly for our high school students, and he was just phenomenal, did a great job. And so our kids will participate in those type of programs and go to classes and then go to lunch and do all of those things. We have chapel once a week, both for elementary and for the upper school. And, we believe that the faith experience is a part of the educational process. And so that's important for us. That's something that's built into our day. So that happens both in the upper school, 7th through 12th, as well as in the elementary. And so, that I would say the school, if you want to talk about the schedule of school, it's the same. You've got classes and lunch and practices and all of those things, and band and orchestra and concerts and, sports competitions. But the thing that I would say differentiates us is our environment and our culture. It's very specific and it's very intentional and it's faith-based.
Great. Well, you've already given the website. If parents have specific questions, is there someone that they can reach out to? Who is the contact person if they are looking at getting a tour to the school, asking more detailed questions about enrollment, applications, things like that? How can they connect other than just going to the website that you mentioned, but who can they contact, and is there a phone number that they can call?
Yeah, the person is Marcy Heilberg. She is our admissions director, and our phone number is 262-694-3900. So someone can call and ask to speak with someone in admissions or to speak with Marcy. She does tours. She will answer questions and, help somebody who's exploring the possibility of private education for the student here at Christian Life. I would also recommend for anyone, this is an ebook that we have. Our team put together this ebook on the 20 essential characteristics of the best private schools. And it's a resource for parents who are looking at private education for their student. It gives 20 characteristics that you should be looking at when you're looking at a private school. And it deals with the arenas of the school's academic profile. It has to do with student development, school culture, the organizational environment. It gives you as a parent questions to ask of the school that you're looking at. In each of those 4 areas, it gives you an opportunity as a parent to grade that school and to kind of get a score of what that school is like. And again, I think that's something for parents when they're looking at private education. to kind of figure out what are the things that are important for them. So what are they looking for in a private school? And this gives 20 characteristics that can kind of help you as a parent to say, what really am I looking for when I say I want a good education for my student? What does that mean? And then kind of an opportunity to prioritize and then score the different schools that you're looking at. So I think that's a great resource. You can find that right on our website. I believe it's right on the homepage. Anybody can download it for free. So.
Excellent. That is a great resource. This has been really great and informational. I think this is going to be very helpful to parents. What you just mentioned about the 20 essential characteristics of a private school, having that resource available for parents to be able to go directly to your website and pull that down. And if they're making a comparison, in their area, across the country, or here locally between the different private schools, I think that's just a great resource for people. Just to recap a little bit, it sounds like when parents are looking at private education, the three big areas of that are common, not necessarily concerns, but reasons that they might be looking for private education are the safety of the school, the cultural environment, and then the better educational experience, which we talked about probably involves the number one and the number two of safety and culture.
Right.
So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts. Obviously, it is going to be really more of a local with what Christian Life School is. That's what you can address to, but you gave some really good information that people can expand on as they're looking at different schools, not just Christian Life.
Right.
I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you would like to add regarding Christian Life or your experience with private education?
Yeah, no, I would just say I appreciate you having me on. I'll add one caveat as well, is that resource, that book, that ebook is not meant just for our local school. So anybody across the country can download that and use that to evaluate a private school, whether it be here in Wisconsin or California or Florida or Oregon or wherever you are. So it's a resource that's not just, hey, here's what our school's great at. Mm-hmm. But rather, here's what you should be looking for when you think about private education. So that's available for anybody in your audience to download for free and to use when they're looking for private education. And again, I just want to say thank you, Jeanette, so much for the opportunity to be here to talk a little bit about something that I'm passionate about, Christian education. It's important for me. It's a value for us here at Christian Life, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for being a guest. This has been very helpful to moms and parents so that they can be informed about the decision that they're making when they're choosing a school. To my audience, thank you so much. This is all for today. Until next time, be bold, be beautiful, and be you.